Hello, everybody, whenever, wherever. Today I would like to talk a little bit about Saturn. I have had that in plan for a while and always postponed it again because something else came in between. But now I would like to give you some introduction to also some of the recent discoveries. Well, it's not that recent. It went around the globe with some pictures, I think, some years ago. Yeah, but I find it very fascinating. Also, when we puzzle that together a bit into other things we know, also about the whole paradigm shift. So, okay, I go and put the screen on. So there is Saturn. I find it really great how NASA puts these sites up, that we can actually see how they orbit and what is going around. And you see here Ceres, Jupiter, yeah. Then of course his moons, but sometimes we see different what's called satellites and stuff. I find that very fascinating. So Saturn has a rotation time around his own axis of just under 11 hours, and he orbits the Sun in about 29 and a half years. And the sound that you can hear, that has been recorded by NASA. It's the sound of his rings. I found that a good thing to underlay the whole video. I hope you can still hear me clear, so. Now, Saturn. He is about structures, and he does have them too, yeah. This is actually his North Pole. This has been discovered or photographed with the, I think, Cassini mission. So this hexagon shape is really very clear, right? I mean, it's fascinating, yeah. And it seems to keep to be stable, yeah. And those of you who know more about sacred geometry and so on, you will recognize that. And we also know that shape, of course, from astrology, from the different let's say shapes or geometry we get through the aspects within cycles, right? So, but that we have everywhere, right? We have the sphere and we have the angles. And if you would draw lines, yeah, you would get actually within the Star of David, yeah. Yeah, not exactly, but yeah. So we have that at his North Pole, and it keeps to be stable. because it is one of the most stable structures that we have. It's the triangle, or in astrology, it's the grand trine. These are the most stable structures. It's the trinity we find also in all the different Asian teachings and religions. So, North Pole. Now, South Pole. Looks like an eye. Very fascinating too, right? So here we have this more like a, let's say, spiraling structure, and it looks like an eye. Yeah, very fascinating. That's his South Pole. What else is Saturn so famous about? Yeah, his rings, as we can hear them. Voila. That was in 2009. This is an artist interpretation of the whole discovery. You can see this little dot here, so that you get the scales, yeah, which be Saturn with his rings as we know it. Now they discovered this huge ring around it, like an extension ring, yeah. And I was thinking about that a lot, and I feel this is significant because of the astrological meaning of Saturn. He did actually change his nodal axis, and that was in a time, it was actually in 1851. It was in a time when also some others changed their nodal axis. And it was the time of some significant cycles that started. So it was all in the same time. And his cross, which is actually no longer a cross, we want. So his aphelion and perihelion axis is in Gemini and Sagittarius, actually overlaying that galactic crossing point, so the galactic equator crossing the ecliptic, that point, that's where his aphelion and perihelion axes are, in Gemini and Sagittarius. And so that means like his intention. And the perihelion means where he has the most influence, whereas his nodal axis is more about past the way he acts. Yeah? And that nodal axis has changed from the Cancer Capricorn axis into the Sagittarius Gemini axis. And so he has now both those axes are just like taking a whole Gemini into sandwich, if you want. So it's, to me, at that moment, even so it is a long time ago, but you see, all of them, they move such axes, they don't move fast, usually, and especially not the nodal axis. And those of Earth is relatively fast moving. And we know we are about 2,160 years in the same sun. But many of the especially outer planets, I can't even go to look because there is no software which would provide me with all these data, not far in the past and not far into the future. So I only have a few hundred years I can examine, and so that's not enough. But I can see they move like maybe 1 degree in 300 years or something like that, and some even less. So it's really, really long-term changes that we are talking about is when a planet like Saturn moves nodal axis. So what does that mean? It means that before we felt like he is limiting, right? Because he is all about structures. And we know that whatever structure we invent for whatever, it holds us in that bit, right? So we have that in physical, yeah, like I don't know, a cup holds the coffee, right? We need that structure, yeah, otherwise would be a bit difficult. So, but yeah, you have a bigger cup, you have, yeah, like this, right? You get that. And so it's the same about our belief system, our whatever kind of structures we have. Also on the political, on societal levels, everything, yeah, and within us, how we think and so on. These are all structures. And the smaller we keep us in this, the sooner we will feel the limitation, right? But when we expand, when we get a broader view, which is the theme of Sagittarius, then yeah, we get more space, if you want, yeah, to be creative, because Saturn is also about the manifested, if you want. But I feel that all this before a bit heavy feel has changed, right? It's not the same. The more he comes into to Sag, yeah. And then we shall not forget. Also, there was this great conjunction with the December solstice last year with Jupiter. Jupiter is having this expansion, this grow attributes, right? And together with Saturn, so there can only be expansion. Even if we have certain things already seen or discovered or felt years before. But the more we get into awareness or consciousness about certain things, the more we expand and things change and we get a different view, right? So that's the same with the planets, right? As above, so below. So it all goes together, right? And when we look at the two, Saturn and Jupiter, they are said to be societal planets because we have up to Mars, we say it's more like the personal planets. They are revolving around the sun pretty fast. And then Jupiter and Saturn, they are much slower, but still compared to Uranus and Neptune and then Pluto and his realms, it's it's much faster, right? So those two planets, they are like in between, yeah, they bridging, if you want, those realms, yeah. And so now that we have a much broader structuring, yeah, much expanded rings within which we can manifest. Everything changes, the whole energy, everything changes. And as we know, Earth herself goes through such a shift right now, too. So it all goes together, right? So this was the main thing I wanted to talk about. And I can give you a short glimpse into that chart when that shift happened. That could maybe, for some of you, be interesting. I have to switch this one first. Voila. Okay, so voila. So in that time when he shifted, he was here, right? I found the moment when he was exactly on 0 degree Aries. But as you can see, that means he is still in the constellation of Pisces. And here this node here, it is often interpreted as being this one here, the past, and here the future. I I tend to agree in some ways, but I think it's also the connection, a higher connection. Not only here in Sag, but we have these things all over the zodiac anyways. So interesting here is that aspect here to Earth, as we know that she is shifting too, and probably she knew that then already. Yeah, it's interesting, yeah, that there was some kind of resistance to it, or so can I do that? Is it possible? Something like that. So, but yeah, she did it, right? So we can also see that we have just here Uranus and Pluto, same time in conjunction, started a new cycle. We have here stellium with Pallas, Sedna, Haumea. We have here one with Venus and Vesta. We have here Chiron, Varuna. It is unbelievable, this chart. And here also Juno approaching Orcus, already in conjunction. Significant, truly. And you see here Haumea and Sedna. It was just the year before that they were exactly conjunct, and they are on a very long term cycle. They are like the exiled, said to be the exiled feminine, but maybe it's more than that, especially when we think that Sedna got an 11,400 year orbit, and Haumea is like bringing like a midwife energy, if you want, and so birthing that higher consciousness back into the earthly realms. I think that's the theme here. And so for that to happen, Saturn had to change his path of action. Otherwise, this could not happen, right? That's how I look at it. So, but this is a very, comes out of my personal research and interpretation. So, just feel into it yourself, what you think about that as information, and maybe you can build up more on that too. So I for sure will not stop to research, and I will let you know when I come across other things, but not only about the past as explanations, but also with the future, which I usually do in written form, but yeah, maybe I will do more on video too, but I like the writing. So for now, I wish you all a really great time, and I see you next time on Here and Now.